Good Monday morning. It is May 19th, and you found us right here on 13 News Now Plus at the Weather Desk. It's today's top weather headlines, and I'm meteorologist Craig Muller. Let me say, I hope you had a great weekend. Certainly had some rough weather to end last week across the central U.S., extending across Kentucky into northern Virginia. We're going to talk a lot about that, and I'm going to get to my weather headlines in just a minute, but I'm really excited about this. I've been doing this for months and months. I said, we really want to start getting more feedback from our viewers. And I know that a lot of people are tuning in and finding us here. We've had a lot of growth with the amount of interaction through some of our digital platforms. But I would love to hear from you. And I think a great way to do that, email any weather pics from where you are. If you've got some interesting weather, we'd love to see those. You can email them, even short videos. You can email those to us. If you have questions you'd like me to answer for you on the Weather Desk, send them in right here. You can email weatherdesk@13newsnow.com. Again, weatherdesk@13newsnow.com. They'll come to me into my inbox, and I'll take the time to read those and try to answer as many as I can. We appreciate your feedback, and I'll put this up towards the end of the show. Let's talk about the headlines that we're tackling today. This is what you want to see. Storm damage updates from Friday's severe weather, the violent storms across Missouri. I have a lot of family back in Missouri. And in fact, some folks that were going to be out camping in Kentucky, they actually shifted their location and went south into Tennessee. And they all got through the storms in good shape, but a lot of people really suffering right now in the Midwest. And we'll talk some more about how things are going and what's next. Now, for today, there is another severe weather outbreak likely, and we're going to talk about that. It's a little bit farther to the west of the really bad weather that they had on Friday, but parts of Missouri under the gun again, and you're going to see Oklahoma especially in the bullseye for a potential severe weather outbreak. So we'll show you that. I can tell you the weather here in the mid-Atlantic, and we broadcast from Norfolk, Virginia here. That's where our studios are located. It is nice here in the mid-Atlantic, but changes are coming midweek. We will see chances for wet weather and maybe a few stronger storms here as well. So those are the headlines, some of the things we're going to be tackling. Now, you see that severe weather outbreak potential here, Oklahoma, into parts of southwest Missouri. Last Friday, I talked about a severe weather outbreak, that concern I had for a tornado outbreak, and we saw that for parts of the Midwest, St. Louis, across southern Illinois, through Kentucky, and into northern parts of Virginia. We want to start off by taking a look and updating you on that. Then we're going to come into today's risks, what I think is going to happen. We'll time it out for you and talk about what's coming down the pike. Let's start with Friday's severe storms. They raked across the plains from Missouri through Kentucky, Illinois, even northern Virginia. At least 28 people were killed across those states. This is a look from the ground in St. Louis. City officials say 5 people died. Nearly 40 were hurt. Thousands of homes were destroyed. Viewers sent in these photos of swirling storm clouds from all across the greater St. Louis metro area. One of them even caught a small explosion as an electric transformer was damaged by the storm. A tornado hit Scott County, which is about 130 miles south of St. Louis. The sheriff said another 2 lives were lost there. Mark Maxwell from our sister station in St. Louis shows us more of the aftermath.
It's hard to measure the force of a storm. There's the speed of the wind.
The windows start busting and Bree hit me all in the face.
The volume of the alarms.
Just bing, bing, start beeping off, and it said, take cover now.
The cost of the damage.
My roof is gone.
And how long you've called a place home.
For about 40 years.
But then there are moments when property values just can't quite sum it all up. Those are harder to measure, but when it hits, you know it.
Today has been what I would call an eventful day.
In the middle of frightening tragedy, people here looked past the rubble to see if their friends and loved ones made it out.
Everybody's fine. I was more worried about my neighbor right there, Mike, than I am about me. God gonna provide for me.
Mike made it out, just barely, but there's no way to measure it really. So let's just say it was a close call.
And I was hiding right there between that wall and a refrigerator and a couch.
Farther down the littered street, a more dire emergency.
They're trying to gain access through a small entry, it looks like. It's still a desperate scene here. We also just saw a firefighter enter into that basement window. They finally used a crowbar to pry off the iron bars that sealed that window of the basement shut.
Then they heard a voice.
Right here.
Inside, trapped under 2 stories of brick, steel, and wood, 45-year-old Garfield Lacey. Outside, his sister, his niece, his brother, his mom. Frantic, hugging, holding on to hope that this too would become a close call. Standing next to them, hearing their pleas for help, there's no way to measure how long these 3 dreadful hours must have felt for them, except to hear it for yourself. That moment, doubt and grief morphed into gratitude and relief.
We feel blessed.
We sat down with Garfield's sister and her family outside of the home where they grew up.
I'm happy that he's okay, but I'm also really sad because I've lived in his house since I was, like 5 months, and all my life. Me and my cousins, we grew up here, and it's just all the memories and stuff.
They'll never walk into that house again, but they still have the people who helped make it a home. Firefighter Pat was one of the first on the scene, surprised at Garfield's condition after struggling under all that crushing weight.
Considering the building collapsed on him, he's doing great.
So how do you measure this close call? In this case, with 2 thumbs up. In St. Louis, Mark Maxwell, 5 on your side.
Now, the city of St. Louis was hit really, really hard. We're talking about downtown neighborhoods and neighborhoods right there in the city. One of the areas that was really pummeled, the Fountain Park neighborhood. A statue of Martin Luther King Jr. was toppled to the ground. And it's not just any statue, it's the only public statue of Dr. King in the entire state of Missouri. Now residents are doing what they can to restore the neighborhood. Travis Cummings shows us how.
Pretty heartbroken. I mean, this statue has so much significance.
If there was ever a symbol of a city in distress, it's this bronze statue of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. lying on the ground.
There are people that come from all over the state just to come to this park and see this statue.
It's a centerpiece in the Fountain Park neighborhood, marking the destruction from Friday afternoon's tornadoes. Tree limbs now rest where families once gathered. Shattered windows and mangled roofs tell the story of a storm that took just minutes to change everything. Dr. King's spirit of service, says Stefan West, who's lived on this block for 20 years, out clearing debris.
I'm very passionate about my city of St. Louis, hence the shirt. You know, we love black-owned businesses, but we definitely bonded together on our block. And we still out here working as well. It's a lot of work to do, but we definitely pulled together to help our neighbors.
Some of the most vulnerable are on his block.
We actually have a couple families that have special needs, and we have a lot of elderly neighbors over here. So a lot of them they can't get out and do, the simple things.
There is a lot to recover from.
I could not even contact anyone because we've been without power all night. And so my heart and my social services, we're hitting the doors and making sure that the youth and our seniors are taken care of and those that are in need. And this is complete devastation.
Water, clothing, anything you can provide to help.
The days ahead will be long, but can be done with love, something Dr. King fought for.
Showing love to each other, showing love to our community, leading by example.
Travis Cummings, 5 on your side.
Now, that storm system also spawned tornadoes in Wisconsin, and it also covered Illinois in dust clouds from the destructive winds. I want you to take a look at this from Marion, Illinois. Again, this is southeast of St. Louis, where trees were snapped in half. Homes of all sizes had roofs caved in, and worse. Again, volunteers sprung into action here, which is something residents say is a point of pride for them.
Southern Illinois is fantastic about providing volunteers. It seems as though that whether you're talking volunteer fire department or things like storm cleanup, that you always have people willing to help. It's kind of a feeling of family, a feeling of community here in Southern Illinois, and I like that. I think it's good.
Now, the dust clouds kicked up by the storm affected people as far as Chicago. So you think about that, that's more than 300 miles north of this location. So pretty amazing just how much energy there was and what the winds were able to kick up. Now, that storm system, after coming through St. Louis and across Illinois, worked its way across Kentucky, so it kept moving eastward. The Bluegrass State saw some of the deadliest impacts from the storm. At least 19 people were killed and 10 were seriously hurt. This video is from London, Kentucky, where a tornado barreled through homes and lifted cars fully off the ground. As many people grapple with what comes next for them, others say it could have been worse and are grateful to be alive. Andy Payton from our sister station, WBIR, shares the story of those survivors.
Yeah, you don't have to spend more than a few seconds here in London, Kentucky to fully understand the scope of the damage. It's flipped cars, it's decimated homes, and it's why it's made folks just thankful to be able to return home to what's left of theirs.
Just watch your step very carefully.
Few have seen their home like this.
Her chair was sitting right here, and the couch was right there.
And even fewer have lived to tell the tale.
I was laying over the top of the toilet, face down over the toilet.
That was Nick Ulrich's Friday night.
My mother had her walker and her wedged in the doorway,
visiting his 94-year-old mother when an EF3 tornado with wind speeds of up to 165 miles per hour swept up this London, Kentucky neighborhood and nearly Nick with it.
It was trying to lift right straight up. It was lifting. You could just feel it pulling at you. And it's a weird feeling.
Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear seeing the damage for the first time himself.
You can not only see the destruction, but feel it.
Destruction that's just a small part of the loss Kentucky is feeling right now, with the death toll rising to 19, 17 taking place right here in Laurel County.
We very well could have been too.
Something Nick isn't taking lightly.
Kind of crazy how your fridge is still here.
Yeah, and the freezer.
Still got stuff in the fridge too?
Yeah, there's stuff.
Knowing the only things that are lost,
you think kind of total loss of it?
Yeah, it'll be a total.
Can be replaced.
But it is what it is, and we're still here.
In London, Kentucky, I'm Andy Payton.
As those survivors come back to what's left, they're not alone. Friends, family, and volunteers have flooded London, Kentucky to help out. That goes for everything from literally picking up the pieces of destroyed homes to making sure everyone has a hot meal to eat. Avery Gingerich picks up our coverage.
This is all that's left of a house in Sunshine Hills. As quickly as the tornado that destroyed this property ripped through Laurel County, friends and family have followed right behind to pick up the pieces. Gunny Cole says he has the supplies to make a couple thousand meals.
But a warm, hot meal for breakfast, you know, when you've lost everything, you don't have the ability. One, that's a huge deal. And two, you don't have to go drive somewhere. You can come here, you can eat here, you can continue working, continue trying to pick up the pieces.
He says chili, coffee, and more will be available from morning through evening indefinitely. His tent and trailer will be parked in the middle of Sunshine Hills. Members of the First Baptist Church have been collecting food, clothing, and more.
3, 4, 5, 6 weeks down the road, these people will be in even as much need as they are right now, because their big focus today is I've got to get this done. I've got to look through my stuff.
Associate Pastor Glenn Toney says the church is focusing on collecting as many storage containers as possible. He expects they'll be essential if it rains soon.
You work together, we can get a whole lot more accomplished.
London's mayor and other leaders led a vigil at London Corbett Airport on Sunday evening to help with the community's emotional needs.
So you should know that one. That's way so high.
Mayor Randall Weddle says the airport will be the central command post for distribution efforts going forward.
And we're taking it out to the areas that needs to go, making sure that people's got the food, the necessities that they're needing right now, and then the debris. So this is a centralized area where if you're cleaning up your property, you can bring it in.
He says anyone in need can also come to the command post whenever they need. National Weather Service has crews surveying this area. They say because of damage like this, they estimate that the tornado was at least an EF3. From Laurel County, I'm Avery Gingerich.
All right, Avery, thank you so much. Now, the storm's deadly impact stretched all the way to the D.C. area as well. 2 people were killed in Northern Virginia. Wind gusts of up to 80 miles per hour. They are uprooted trees and cut off power for tens of thousands of people across the DMV. Melissa Kim has a closer look at this damage.
D.C.,
it was scary.
a mad dash for cover around school pickup time.
I ran down the street in the terrible wind. I mean, it was vicious wind, very fast.
That wind knocking down this tree onto 13th Street Southeast.
There was thunder. There might have been, there was lightning, and there was a tree falling down.
Were you scared? Was it scary?
Yeah.
The D.C. Fire Department says it got 15 calls for tree removals. Thankfully, no one was hurt.
But I'm glad that those are not my cars.
Trees also down all over Fairfax County, Virginia, where one person was killed after their car was hit by a tree on the George Washington Parkway near Morningside Lane.
I seen that water come up to the bottom of that bridge right there.
In Alexandria, Roger Ellis took cover while he was watering plants in his yard.
And all of a sudden, I kind of felt some heavy rain coming down. And I said, dog, I wonder what's going on here. And it sounded like some roll of thunder. Got in the house, took cover as quick and fast as I possibly could, because I didn't really want nothing to happen.
But just steps down the road, Fairfax County fire officials say a tree fell onto a car, killing the woman inside who was driving during the storm.
Then trees and stuff went to falling down, and then next thing we know, here come the ambulance.
They got more than 40 emergency calls during that storm. In Montgomery County, Maryland, a tree down at the intersection of Redland and Overhill Roads. No one was hurt. Melissa Kim, WUSA 9.
So a lot of folks obviously impacted by that massive outbreak Friday. We don't normally spend that much time on the weather desk here taking a look at everything, but I think this was an exceptional storm system. And again, for those of you who are watching from other parts of the country, we really do keep an eye on everything going on around the country and really around the world. A little bit later in today's weather desk, I'm also going to take you over to the Swiss Alps where there was a mudslide. So stay tuned for that. I want to come back to the storms that we saw early this morning. And what we'll do, we're going to zoom in on Kansas here, and you'll notice there are several storm reports with tornadoes here out to the west of Wichita. We could take a little closer look at that, and as we do, we could zoom in, and what I'm going to do is take you in and just show you a few of these different reports that were coming in. There was video captured. Some of the local television affiliates actually had this thing on air kind of moving along. There were other reports that were confirmed by law enforcement agents. But again, this was a very active overnight. This is not part of that system that I showed you from Friday. This just happened like this one right here. Stafford storm chaser photo of a large tornado with a debris signature on the radar. You know, we have these beautiful, instruments to help us really analyze what's happening in the atmosphere. And one of the things we can do, we take a look at a function of our radar called the correlation coefficient. It shows varying sizes and, kind of picks up differences in returns on the radar. And we look at that as a signature of debris that is getting sucked up into the tornado. And that's what they had, a pretty clear debris signature with that one around 11:23. Again, some were just actually spotted, and there was some video of those. But what I want to do is take you back and show you these as they were happening. So we'll go to the Mosaic radar, and you can see this looping along here, a couple of these cells. But let's stop this just for a second. And I'm just going to take you back to show you a little bit more. We can do this full screen so you can get a really good look at this. I'm going to zoom in to the areas around Wichita, and this was at 3:19 yesterday afternoon. So you see Wichita there, just off to the west and to the southwest. Let me zoom in a little bit more, and you can see how as we move along through the early evening, we come in and we start to see some more development here, and you'll see it coming up. Well, let's see here. There we go. It was a little bit far. Sorry about that. I thought I had it zoomed in right. Okay, so a little bit farther out there. So let's take a look at these cells again. Moving along, we had some that came through early. That one producing some very violent weather. And then look at the rotation there, kind of a little hook on the end of that one. And then we had additional storms coming in. Right there, again, just south of Greensburg, you can see that little notch kind of as that thing moved along. Look at that. Okay, again, that's just a signature. And this is just a radar composite, but I wanted to show you some of these cells that were moving along again, the warnings that were issued with these as they move through. late last night across portions of south central Kansas. So that's what was going on. Now, the stage is set for more destructive weather today. You can see these areas that were hit hard last week back across St. Louis, Missouri, and southern Illinois. They're under a level 2 threat, but it's the areas shaded in orange, Kansas City through Wichita, and then back down into eastern Oklahoma. This is the area that I'm really concerned with for the potential strong tornadoes. Again, EF2 or greater in many of these locations. That potential's there for stronger and long track tornadoes, the kind that don't just spin down, touch and go. Sometimes you still get those, but you have the potential for the longer duration tornadoes, the kind that can touch down and move along on the ground. So this whole area hashtagged here, you can see from the Dallas-Fort Worth area all the way up through East Kansas, back through Kansas City, Columbia, Missouri, Jefferson City, even Rolla. Really an elevated risk of tornadoes. And again, this area you see hashed out here, meaning we could see some stronger ones, EF2 or greater. And this darker shade of red in here, that's level 4. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, level 4 threat with this tornado potential. Saw a similar setup with what we got last Friday for this part of the country. So now we're seeing it back across Oklahoma and into southwest Missouri. We're going to be watching this very carefully for you later today and tonight as the system develops and moves along. So we're really concerned here this afternoon, and then it shifts farther to the east and back over more towards St. Louis a little bit later on. You see the line of showers out there this morning. Nothing severe here, some scattered showers. There are a few heavier downpours kind of embedded out towards Kansas City and just off to the southwest of Kansas City. Here you see those more recently right there. Some heavier pockets up into Iowa, some more showers back down across Texas. But this area is really going to see, I believe, an eruption of storms later today. So this is what we're going to be watching for. In addition to the tornadic threat, you also have to worry about large hail. And again, these areas kind of hashed out here could see 2 inches or greater with the hail potential. We had some reports of that, again, from Friday's storms, about the size of hen eggs, some of these hailstorms. So large hail associated with it. And again, this is from parts of eastern Nebraska, southwestern Iowa, down through Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. Serious stuff here. Columbia back down towards Rolla. Now, the heaviest of this hail potential out to the west of St. Louis, but St. Louis still needs to be on guard, needs to stay aware for potential hail there. Larger hail also back through Kansas City. You can see into Nebraska, that's Omaha, Nebraska, Sioux City, all the way up there, and then down towards Lincoln and areas to the south. You can see it Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Fort Smith, and all the way down through the Dallas-Fort Worth area and Waco. So we're going to be watching for that. And then, of course, you've got the potential for strong winds. And in this area, southwest Missouri, northeast parts of Oklahoma, northwest Arkansas, and southeast Kansas, right in here, you have the potential for those strongest winds, 75 miles per hour or greater. Now, the severe weather threat will shift east tomorrow. We don't have level 4, but we do have level 3 or an enhanced risk. So that would be numerous severe storms potentially from Kentucky back into Tennessee, northern parts of Alabama and Mississippi. This area, again, hit so hard. So we're going to be watching for that with wide eyes and keeping close focus on that for tomorrow. Into Wednesday, we're going to see it shift a little farther to the east. I'll show you what our threat is here in the mid-Atlantic. As far as the outlook goes for tornadoes, again, there is this hashed area from southern Kentucky through western Tennessee and then northern Alabama and Mississippi especially. But that level 3 threat goes all the way up through southern portions of Illinois and Indiana. Again, large hail a possibility and those stronger winds. All of this in play. That's for Tuesday. Now for Wednesday, we just have a level 1 threat here in the mid-Atlantic. So as that system works eastward, interacts with the mountains, things change up. It's going to weaken considerably from what we're seeing now. But there's still going to be a potential for a few isolated, stronger storms in the mix. As far as flooding potential goes, excessive rainfall, very likely we're going to see this down along the Missouri-Arkansas state line. So flooding is going to be a concern down there, southern parts of Missouri, West Plains, Poplar Bluff. This is an area we used to camp all the time down in Eminence, Missouri, Shannon County. I can tell you, beautiful Ozark scenic riverways. But again, they don't handle the flooding rain very well. We have those beautiful rivers that can come up very quickly. So folks here need to be on guard. Branson, again, a great vacation destination right on the cusp there of that very likely or higher flood potential area, Mountain View, down through Jonesboro, Arkansas. Now, as we look ahead, Tuesday morning through Wednesday morning, the area shifts a little farther to the east, Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois, back into West Virginia. Again, all of these areas with some potential for some flash flooding. And even Norfolk as we go past midnight Tuesday. Tuesday is going to be okay for us, but early Wednesday we could see some locally heavy downpours. I'll be in watching that for you on Daybreak early on Wednesday morning right here on 13 News Now. All right, here are the chances for rain around Norfolk. Very, very slim to none. I don't expect anything today or tomorrow for the daylight time, but by the overnight and towards sunrise Wednesday morning, this is when it becomes more probable that we'll deal with it. I expect rain to be fairly widespread on Wednesday, so I'm not worried about it Tuesday at all during the day. By late Tuesday night, maybe just towards midnight or after that, that's when our rain chances go up. I think there'll be some isolated to scattered showers still on Thursday. The following weekend looks pretty awesome. Take a look at the futurecast here and across the Mid-Atlantic region, specifically Hampton Roads, we're looking good. We're going to find the temperatures warming up, low 80s today, but lower humidity. It feels great out there. As you can see going ahead, we're going to find the temperatures a little bit cooler tomorrow, actually, but we do have the chances for the scattered wet weather coming in early Wednesday. And again, there'll be pockets of rain, maybe some heavier storms off to the north, certainly something I'll be watching for through the middle part of the morning. As we get into the afternoon or early evening, there could be a few more isolated heavier cells coming through. So something else for us to watch for you during the day there Wednesday. And then by Thursday, a lot of it pulling away, but there might still be some lingering isolated to maybe scattered showers. Here in the Mid-Atlantic, nice weather today. As I mentioned, the skies are clear. The dew point is low. Look at this. We have dew points in the 50s. That feels really nice. Temperatures right now, low 70s. But when you have dew points in the 50s, it's quite comfortable. That's what we're experiencing tomorrow. Dew points going back up. Some more humidity to deal with. And we do have that chance, good chances for wet weather there on Wednesday. After that, another cool push. Temperatures getting warmer again as we get into the middle of next week. Right now, low 70s across the area. Again, it does look good out on the water through 10 a.m. We have a small craft advisory for the Chesapeake Bay, so not too much longer. It's a bit breezy this morning. Waves running 2 to 3 feet, and the sea's about the same. Notice the water temperature now in the bay, 71 degrees. I haven't been out swimming in the bay yet, but it's getting warm enough where you can jump in and have a good time, do some paddle boarding or whatever you like to do, maybe some boating or, water skiing, jet skiing, whatever it is you like to do. It's going to be pretty nice out there. All right, our UV index, it's a 9 today, very high, only about 20 minutes to burn. And I wanted to pass along tree and grass pollen are high. Quick reminder, we are just about done with the tree pollen season as we're finishing out May and coming into June. Tree pollen is going to become less of an issue, but you know what's next? Here comes the grass pollen, and we're seeing that building already. Now that we're mid-May into June, we're going to be seeing that grass pollen high for a while. Mold, yeah, it can be up or down. We really haven't had too many issues so far this season, but it will build later in the summer, and then we'll finish up the summer and head into fall with weed pollen, the bigger issue. Temperatures today, low 80s here in Norfolk. A lot of sunshine, mostly sunny, beautiful weather. Again, that UV index very high, so if you are going to go out and enjoy this weather, make sure you apply the sunscreen. Across northeast North Carolina, low to mid 80s, inland, upper 70s near the coast. Now, tonight's low down around 63. It's going to be mainly clear. Tomorrow back up to 74, mostly sunny, still looking really good. We do have some more wet weather coming in tomorrow night, late after midnight, really, and towards sunrise on Wednesday. We're going to talk more about that. But before we do get into the rest of the 7-day forecast, I mentioned we keep an eye on what's going on internationally. And there's one other thing I wanted to share with you, and this is people in Central Europe. They were evacuated after a mudslide was reported in the Swiss Alps. Absolutely stunningly beautiful country out there, but a mudslide is obviously very dangerous, and the slide was spotted in southern Switzerland, and it threatens at least one village. Both residents and tourists found shelter in hotels or with relatives, and they'll have to stay there for a little while longer. Officials say the evacuation likely won't be lifted before tomorrow. Several tourist roads and hiking trails in the Alps were closed temporarily. So it's beautiful to see that, but you always hate to see something like that mudslide. And I did just want to mention that and get that in. All right, here is the 7-day forecast for Norfolk, and we will see that chance for showers and thunderstorms on Wednesday. Thursday, a few showers lingering, but look at our upcoming weekend. More beautiful weather, temperatures in the 70s, lower humidity. Things look good with a lot of sunshine. I also told you we'd come back to our email. You can jot this down or just remember it. You're watching the Weather Desk. If you'd like to send me your weather pics, if you've got questions you'd like me to answer for you right here on the Weather Desk, you can submit those. And I'll also welcome your feedback. Hopefully you're enjoying this program, and that's why you're investing some time with us. You can send me an email at weatherdesk@13newsnow.com. We'll read those emails, and when we can, we'll go ahead and answer them and try to answer some of them for you right here on the Weather Desk. All right, I hope you had a good one. Remember, you can always follow along with 13 News Now. Stay connected and stay informed when you take that 13 News Now mobile app with you. Access to the radars, the forecasts, all of our weather coverage and news coverage as well. Scan that QR code and you will be in the know. That's going to do it for this edition of the Weather Desk. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you again tomorrow.